Welcome back to Counseling from the Cross. If you've been with us for the past 5 days, then you know we're on the sixth word, which is taken from John 19, verse 30. It is finished. Let's consider the spiritual theme of triumph today. Triumph is a conclusive success following an effort, conflict, or confrontation of obstacles. And for reflection from a mental health perspective, let's look at the value of one's mindset. So Jesus is pierced and in pain. He's battered and bleeding. Perhaps hours have passed when he utters, "It is finished." Jesus was signaling to the Jewish world that there was no more need for sacrifices or temples because his work brought ultimate fulfillment to what their sacrificial system had foreshadowed. The ESV Study Bible comments that "it is finished" proclaims that all the work the Father had sent him to accomplish was now completed, particularly his work of bearing the penalty for our sins. This means there was no more penalty left to be paid for sins, for all Jesus' suffering was finished. Christ finished the work he had come to do. He gave the complete gift of himself, but it's not finished for us. Our journeys are not complete yet. We're called to follow in Jesus' footsteps and to give the complete gift of ourselves to God and to mankind, which as Christians is our reasonable service. Permit me to share an illustration. The basic facts don't tell the story. John Stephen Akwari was a marathon runner who represented Tanzania in the marathon event in the 1968 Olympics. He didn't win a medal. In fact, he didn't even come close. But in defeat and in pain, he came to represent something much more profound and enduring than many sportsmen achieve in illustrious careers. John Stephen Akwari was never likely going to win the men's marathon, but his chances were wrecked when, perhaps because of the effects of the high altitude, he succumbed to cramps that slowed his progress. If that was painful, then worse was still to come after he was involved in a melee of athletes jockeying for position. Akwari fell to the ground, gashing his knee and also causing it to become dislocated. He smashed his shoulder against the pavement, and most observers seeing his injuries assumed he would just pull out and go to the hospital. Instead, he received medical attention and returned to the track to continue his race. His pace, of course, was now much slower, but his resolve to complete the event remained intact. 18 of the 75 starters had already pulled out. Akwari didn't wish to add to that number. And so, more than an hour after the winner, Tanzania's Akwari crossed the line in last place, cheered home by a few thousand spectators who had remained in the stadium after the sun went down. The medals had already been awarded, and by the time he reached the stadium, he's limping, and the bandage around his leg is flapping in the breeze. He was asked why he'd carried on, and his response has gone down in sports history. "My country did not send me 5,000 miles to start the race. They sent me 5,000 miles to finish the race." So we take this story and liken it to Jesus. Akwari recovered from his injuries and continued running long-distance races. He was a good runner, but his performance, his courage and dedication in the face of adversity is what history will remember him for. I can't think of anyone else who's ever lived whose death we remember more often than Jesus Christ. It wasn't enough for him to be born. That would be leaving glory to start the race. But he was born to die. He came to redeem us from the penalty of sin. As he hung on the cross, giving his life as the ultimate sacrifice for our sin, he was fulfilling his purpose, fighting the good fight, finishing the race. I want to leave you with 3 keys to finishing your race well. Key number 1, persevere. Hard, lonely, frustrating, painful, challenging days will come, but press on. Press on toward the goal. Don't become weary in doing good. Key number 2, a positive mindset is critical. Affirm yourself. Encourage yourself. Speak positive affirmations, thus fueling your mind, your attitude, and effort to run on. And the 3rd key, discover your purpose. Know your why and run your race. Don't waste time trying to duplicate someone else. Invest the time to discover your destiny, then set out to fulfill it. God created you for your own unique purpose. You may have an identical twin, or be your mama's mini-me, or the spitting image of your father, but God made you special with your own unique calling. Your work is not done yet. Continue to persevere with a positive mindset, focused on your purpose. Use these 3 keys to finish well and finish strong. Keep this in mind.